delays are intentional. PSD wants to see this project finished. Do you want to see this project finished?
As fast as possible.
As fast
We'll quit
as possible.
violating the law.
I would like to say that
Mr.
delays
Holt,
are
I'm speaking
intentional.
right now. In speaking with Mr. Kuntz and also with Mr. Shipley and hearing from you as well, I'm aware that Mr. Kuntz, the DEP, he's from the DEP, is expecting an apples-to-apples comparison
Correct.
of the decentralized approach as currently envisioned by Rigby against a centralized approach from Rigby, not from Thrasher,
Correct.
to get an apples-to-apples comparison.
Correct.
It has been, of course, very costly and very expensive to put out many hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars to continue this project forward. This is very difficult. It's oversimplifying to say that things are intentionally delayed or there's a non-development kind of approach to this. There are a lot of stakeholders. Some of them aren't in this room.
That's right.
And I'm very proud of the work you and Mr. Litzy and Mr. Shipley are doing on the board. This is a very tough issue. This is the reason it's been going on for years. It's because it's very hard. This needs to be fixed quickly.
Absolutely.
Mark Smith has sent in a letter of interest expressing his wish to serve on the PSD board again. I can't, for myself, entertain that, knowing that Mark Smith, along with you, Mr. Tracy, at the time, wished to actually send, you wrote a letter to the state wishing for this project to be sent into receivership. That direction is in conflict to the majority of the PSD at this time, and as it stands today with the Commission, as far as I know, going into receivership is against our wishes as well. So I can't see that as a way forward. It's very difficult to see what's coming. To echo your words and your concerns, how do we do this? What do we know is going to be the cost? If this is not approved, Rigby's going to want his money, and that could come to the county. You bet.
Well, we can't pay them, so the county's
Right.
going to have to.
You guys have put a lot of money into investigating every way to get this done. And I know that in good faith you voted, or you changed the vote from negative to 4 to make it a unanimous 3-0 decision
I
to
did.
proceed with the decentralized approach.
So it wouldn't hold up the project.
So it wouldn't hold
That's
the
the reason I
process, because
did
you
it.
want to get this done quickly.
Yes.
We all do. And that's something we have in common. We should work on that and keep that in mind. This comes down to the DEP and Mr. Rigby coming to agreement on a satisfactory centralized comparison for the apples to apples. So the DEP very much wants this done too. They want an approvable, is that right?
That's
not
correct,
an approved
yes.
at this point, an approvable project, so the Public Service Commission can go forward with that. We may not get there. It may not happen. There's going to be a hearing in July at the Public Service Commission on this matter. I saw the notice about
July
that.
the 11th.
July the 11th. So I think one way or the other, we actually are coming down to getting something built.
It's getting closer, I think, and I certainly do appreciate that.
Yes, that's something, again, that we all have in common. We all want something to be built. I feel for myself that it's not accurate to characterize or to put this all on Mr. Shipley as having financially ruined the PSD. These are tough decisions. Normally, as I understand it, in a smoother flow of a project, those costs will be covered by the already approved plan and state funds. And you guys are having to pay it out of pocket right now.
Absolutely.
So we have some other letters here. I appreciate your comments. I'm frustrated too. I think, however, that PSD, all of you are doing a good job. It's so tough. And I hope it's resolved very
That's
soon.
because
whatever
we care.
happens.
We care.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
May I say something else?
Yes, Mr. Holt.
This thing has been going on for 10 years. 10 years. Name another project that has taken 10 years, and the whole thing could have been built in 2005 and completed for $17 million and served twice the coverage area that it's going to serve now.
But there were other stakeholders who weren't happy with that.
Right, so 10 years later, nothing has changed. I'm no closer to service than I was. And Mr. Eamon Tracy has revoked. He tried to revoke his vote, and you can confirm that with him. He no longer supports it. And you made apparently a Freudian slip about approving a decentralized system, but that's not what this is all about. Go play the tapes over, you're taping it. What it's all about is to see which one, originally it was going to be cheaper.
Yeah.
And this fraud of $10 million cheaper has now been thrown out the window, and it's now been determined that the decentralized two-plant system will be more expensive, and other engineer by $400,000. And a dispassionate engineer has said, and I believe this to be, any engineer would say the same thing, is that to operate two plants will cost 40% more over the life of it than one plant.
Thank you. That reminds me, I don't know, I don't think I made a slip, but let's talk more about this. In talking with Mr. Koontz, he did tell me that the DEP needs this apples-to-apples comparison, and if the Public Service District, if you decide by majority, due to, I think his word is non-monetary reasons, that you wish to go with a more expensive plant, namely the decentralized, I think we all expect that the centralized approach could come out cheaper.
Well, no, it was stated 10 million cheaper for a decentralized system. Now it's more expensive, and so the whole
Correct.
argument has
Mr.
been flipped on its head.
Mr. Holt,
Yes.
I'm still speaking, please.
Excuse me, I'd like to speak also.
You'll have another turn.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Koontz from the DEP needs to have this apples-to-apples comparison, and if the PSD decides to go with a more expensive approach, if that turns out to be a decentralized approach, he needs that in writing. The PSD has the power to decide that. The PSD may decide to go with a cheaper approach, which may be a centralized approach. That's your decision
You're
as a
right,
board.
you're right, what you say.
Thank you. And that's going to be decided soon. I mean, we're talking July 11th.
It's part of the record of the court, the PSC court, that Mr. Rigby was given an opportunity, not because he stated that he could do it cheaper, and so the Public Service Commission granted him this time to do it.
Yes, they did.
And now it's also being discussed that the Valley once again is going to be treated as the redhead stepchild, and we're not going to get the service that was ordered under the PSC ruling of about a year and a half ago, when they declared that it must be the same coverage and area at least of 7-12. And now they're talking about cutting down service to the Valley. That's going to be unacceptable, and it will then engender a whole series of more litigation over it.
Mr. Holt, thank you. I want to comment on that. You're correct that the service area is being considered to be widowed down. In other words, south on 219 to Slady Ridge, Slady Fork Farms area. They're on record as saying they don't wish service. It's the DEP. It's the DEP who's asking the Public
No.
Service District to consider the smaller design.
Well, the DEP stated in 2 letters officially. This is all unofficial from Mr. Koontz. He comes in from nowhere, and Mr. Koontz is making declarations. But the letters that DEP sent to the PSD board said you must cover the area 7-1. That's what we want.
And now they're asking...
And now
DEP is
they've
asking
reversed
for
themselves
smaller.
again. It has been DEP over and over again, which has allowed the pollution to continue for 12 years. I had to sue the DEP just to make them enforce their own rules in 2003.
So, I understand you have frustrations and concerns with not only the PSD, but with the DEP.
Well, what about the so-called environment that everyone's concerned about? It could have been over 7 years ago. The plant could have been built for $8 million less than what it's going to turn out, because the Rigby plant is not going to cost $19.44 million. It's already been declared it's going to be equal to the Thrasher plant, which was at $25.5 million. So it's just 3-card Monte is all it is. They just keep moving the goalposts around, moving the P under the cards, or that's all it is. It's just bait and switch, and it's been going on for over 10 years in the name of all these false considerations. And now that they see that, I just want to finish my statement. Now that they see that it's going to cost more, and that deception has been washed away, now all of a sudden it's changed to, it doesn't matter if it costs more, that's okay, because we just want to do it right. And doing it right is reducing the service to the Valley. every resort area, the most development occurs at the bottom, and eventually it will again. And I do not want to go through another 10-year fight because the plant that is going to be put into place is going to be too small if it's decentralized. If it's one plant, everybody's in the same pool, and service will then not be shut down in one area and allowed to expand in the other because they've got more service dedicated to them. And it also is in violation of the 712 order. It's going to be in more litigation.
That's possible.
If it's not done properly, which means give the valley what it was entitled to under the 712 plan.
Well, let us all continue to hope that the DEP and the PSD can come to a project soon.
Hope is not a strategy.
Well, in a sense, July 11th, I think, with the PSC.
And you know why they're having that? Because Mr. Nagley has been misrepresenting
Mr. Holt.
Well, you keep the status conference was put into place because somebody is not telling the truth about DEP and Mr. Koontz and all the plans and what's going on. That's why they're having a status conference.
Thank you. Okay, so we need to move forward with the issue of selecting the board member to serve for the term. Mr. Shipley's term is expiring at the end of June, and we'll continue forward with that. I appreciate your comments and concerns, and we all hope that this is going to get resolved one way or another soon, because we need sewer service
Yes,
in
sir,
the valley,
that'd be fun.
mountain, however it's done. So I appreciate your continued work and your concerns. Mr. Shipley, I appreciate your continued work as well.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to some of these things. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and for your consideration. The board's vote and position is that we were asked by the Department of Environmental Protection to include an area that was larger than the 7-12 area that the PSC required us to serve. And we accommodated that, and in a unanimous vote by the board, we voted to include the 7-1 area, and that remains our vote. So it was the DEP in the review of the facts, figures, and community input that apparently came to a directive to scale back that they did not see a need, or they didn't feel that the costs for coming down south of 219 warranted the pipelines down there. I think they required an association to have a meeting, which they did, and the vote was unanimous that they did not want or need. In fact, the president of Slady Fork Farms wrote a letter to the Public Service Commission asking why they had been counted as customers in the previous 7-12 plan when the cost for putting the pipes and the pumps into their development was not included. And so their vote was unanimous, and this was completely the DEP's review. It had nothing to do with the Public Service District. And when Mr. Koontz met with us on May 3rd, special work session, he informed us that he discussed some of the comments that the DEP had filed, and one of those was that they wanted to do a centralized plan designed by wastewater management. And quite frankly, I questioned him during that meeting, and I said, Mr. Koontz, you know, we had come to pretty much a consensus after 7 years of hard work that it was pretty much agreed by everyone that the waste load, gallons per day for the plants, would be an acceptable alternative. And I cautioned him that by introducing this new element, which would cause a time to investigate and to come up with, which was for wastewater management to do a centralized plan, might cause an unraveling of the harmony that we achieved. Now, let me collect my thoughts here.
As you collect your thoughts, thank you, Mr. Shipley. That being said, am I correct in assuming that Mr. Coons, the DP, is still holding firm that you must go, the PSD must go forward in coming up with a centralized estimate from wastewater management, Rigby,
That's very true.
And the reason,
whoever pays for it.
Very true.
and the reason they did that, according to Mr. Coots, was that not because the Public Service District had said that a decentralized plan would be cheaper than anybody's designed centralized plan. We had hired a previous engineer and paid and considered the centralized plan that they presented to us, and that happened to be around $27 million. So, you know, the engineer presented us those figures, and that's what we had to go on. I think what the claim, so to speak, may have been that we could do a project cheaper, and there was an interest in a decentralized approach back then, and so that's what we focused on. The Public Service Commission order deemed that was a reasonable thing to do. They actually gave us permission to go ahead and do that, and
To go ahead and look into